Welcome back. It's still Health Matters, and you can join us in this discussion by calling 080-546-83025, 080-546-83025 for your questions or your comments. Okay, before we went on that break, I was saying you will tell us what are some of the signs that a child might be malnourished.
Okay, there are three classical indicators that we use. Generally, we refer them as failure to thrive. And the classical way is that we compare their growth with the standard growth, which we refer to as the WHO growth standards. And so a child whose height for age is not normal, who is under, or a child whose weight for age is also not normal, or for appropriate for that age, because we have standards that defines appropriate height for an appropriate age, appropriate weight for an appropriate height, and an appropriate weight for an appropriate weight. So once that
an
child
appropriate height
for an appropriate height. So once that child is going outside that norm, then we begin to figure. And then in a community setting, if the preponderance of children in those settings are skewed more to the negative side, then we begin to suspect that there's a problem. Mm-hmm. But the mother can also identify that this, my child, is not growing as other
as
children.
It should. For instance, the multiple indicators cluster survey, 2016 and 17 shows that child wasting, which is too thin for their age, it increased from 24.2% to 31.5%.
That's true.
Which is not so good for us. And of course, stunting, too short for age, increased from 34.8% to 43.6%.
Yes.
So, as a mother or as a parent or as a caregiver or as somebody in charge of a child, you have to look out for such things and say, okay, is this child growing according to the age? Is this child too big or too small for the age too? Yeah. And this can be done at any of the health centers.
Thank you. That's exactly.
Yes, because there is a chart for you to be able to know
the growth monitoring
chart.
And that which we call the child health card, so that if you go to the clinic for any services, that child has the opportunity of being assessed, and it's called growth monitoring and promotion.
Okay, let's take Emmanuel's call. Hello, Emmanuel.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. Please reduce the volume of on your TV set so that we can hear you clearly.
Is it okay now?
Please go ahead.
All right. I have a baby that whenever I'm giving him a little liquid substance, I normally add honey to it. Is it advisable to give an infant child honey?
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel.
Well, thank you. I don't want to sound very prescriptive on air, because you have not told us the complete picture. You said a child. How old is your child? We need to know. And since we don't have that, so I don't want to sound prescriptive.
So, but from what age can a child take
above 6
honey?
months? Yes, you can add a little honey to honey is a sweetener, so you can add, and it also contains some energy. And like I said, if you use oil, it's just to increase and then to make it less dense. But if you use honey, you can also apply honey. Some other people use sugar, but you do not want to develop the sweet tooth of that child only for sweet things. And so that's why,
because
it
will learn it.
Yes, we'll learn it and
not
get
be
used
able to take things that are not as sweet. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking about some of the signs. You have said height for age.
Yes. So
settled.
And that's why the period of immunization goes up to about 9 months. So that child goes to the clinic at different times, and so when that child is presented at clinic, his weight and height also monitored. And so all those are monitored and then plotted on the growth chart. I don't know whether
there's always this card that
that's
parents
what I'm saying.
have. Okay, Adams, thank you for joining us. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Please,
I don't know, is there any possibility by giving birth to a child and fail to give that child a water for a period of 6 or 3 months like that?
Is there what?
Is there any possibility, or is there any...
Is it possible not to give the child water in the first 6 months of life? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, Adams.
Yes, the answer is yes. It is been proven, it's been shown, and it's been known to be beneficial. Let me also explain. For every water you give to that child, water does not add any nutrients, does not add any energy, no protein, no vitamin, no mineral, and then you need to appreciate the stomach size of a child. So it's just like you and an adult going in after a hard day's job, and then you get into your home and you ask your family that where is my dinner? They say, oh, sorry, dinner is yet to come. And they give you a bottle of cold chilled water because the child cannot complain. And that's why we abuse the child unknowingly. So you are not giving.
So when you give the child that water, it takes a lot of space.
It takes the space
that the nutrients would have gotten from breastfeeding at that point.
The stomach size of a child, depending on the age, at 6 months, it's not bigger than a small. What do they call this? It's
not just big enough to contain such amount of water. Okay, let's take Edwin's call. Hello, Edwin.
Hello, thank you very much. I want to ask the doctor a question. I've been listening to discussion, and it seems to be all about children who have the biological mothers. One of the children, children who don't have access to the mother's breast.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question, and that's why there is that process of what we call wet nursing. You look for another mother. There's hardly any woman who cannot breastfeed. There's hardly any. So you stimulate that woman to breastfeed that child. But in a situation where there is no wet nurse that have been certified free from pathogens.
Yes, because that's another issue.
Yes, free from pathogens. If there is none, then such a child will qualify, and that would have to be assessed on its own individual cases by a medical practitioner to recommend what the appropriate feeding methods to be used. I do not want to sound that, yes, because people can now take it, that yes, somebody came on here sometimes ago and said, yes, if the mother is not, for any reason, it has to be assessed by a medical personnel and then recommend what that child should take.
Okay, so let's look at some of the efforts, that partners. I know in Nigeria there are a lot of partners who work with the government on ensuring that some of these issues are addressed. Let's talk about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yes, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, in their strategic documents and in terms of what they do in the country, they are doing a lot to promote breastfeeding, and to also ensure that every child and every mother gets the optimal nutrition they need. And through several programs they support in the country. They support a number of INGOs in Nigeria. They support Alive and Thrive. They also support GAIN in Nigeria. They also support, they also have investment in generating data that will also help us to know the situation of things.
Yes. Okay. So all of this effort is geared towards addressing malnutrition. And
yes,
as we say, we have to talk about education, which is very important, and supporting the mother to breastfeed and providing fortified food for
That's one of the areas
for the women to also know that they could take this, and for young people.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for coming on today on the program. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
And that's the program for today. Thank you all for watching. We can continue the conversation on Twitter at CTV Yomi_O. Bye-bye for now.